Welcome back to A Closer Look. Transportation has changed a lot over the years. Here to talk about how transportation is continuing to change and about a new project at Hampton Roads Transit is President and CEO William Harrell. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Now, what cities does HRT serve?
The peninsula cities of Newport News and Hampton, and of course the South Side cities, Norfolk, Portsmouth, Virginia Beach, and my hometown right here in Chesapeake.
Right here in Chesapeake, great. So, what is the Transit Transportation Project? Can you talk about that?
Yes, and that is a mouthful.
It is.
But, you know, one of the things that we feel is so important as Hampton Roads looks to become more competitive as a region is as we're making all of these road improvements, we also need to look at how we can improve public transportation. So we have embarked on a new project called Transform Transit, and you can certainly go to the website. I think we're going to display that information for your viewers. And provide a survey. There's a survey there to share what you think will be important in terms of a new public transportation system. We're taking a blank slate approach because a lot of the existing routes have been around a long time. So we want to make sure that we're going where people need to go so that this region can continue to be competitive.
And that's important, I would imagine, just to keep up with the development of the roads, because that would determine your stops.
Absolutely, yes. We serve 6 independent cities, all with development plans. We certainly work with your planning departments and what have you, but as areas grow, you need to make sure that you're providing public transportation to those economic modes that certainly need transportation.
And I would imagine every city is different. Their needs are different.
Very much so, and each city decides independently how much transit they can afford each year. So we think part of identifying a more effective system will also look at perhaps some regional funding sources, because you want a system that transcends geographic boundaries, not just Chesapeake, but Newport News, and just how you get from point A to point B.
Right, because users may start out in Chesapeake, but they may need to go do business somewhere else in another city.
That's absolutely right. Regional studies show that over 40% of us live in one city, work in another. We may shop in another. We may worship in another city. So it's important that we have a seamless regional system that you can count on.
Now, what is the value of reliable transit today?
Well, you know, that's a great question. I would say we had an independent study done a couple of years ago, and it pointed out that we, Hampton Roads Transit in its current form, support over 20,000 regional jobs each year and 548 million in employment income. So we are a major contributor in terms of getting people to work.
Right.
The majority of people that are on public transportation are headed to work or to a medical appointment. We're not a social service.
Right.
We are part of the economic development fabric of the region.
So that's important to note, that there are people who rely on this transportation to do their jobs and to make appointments. So it's essential.
Absolutely. And as, for instance, in the Greenbrier area with the development of the Dollar Tree complex, which is absolutely stunning.
It is, it is.
But they're very interested in how can we make sure we have public transportation so people can get to work. So that's going to be very important that we work with private business owners and Mayor West and everyone in the city to see how we can improve public transportation, not just here in Chesapeake, but throughout the Hampton Roads region.
Right, that's a key element when you mention the Dollar Tree and how they are growing and how they're adding employees, and they may not necessarily live in Chesapeake.
Absolutely.
So,
people coming from all over the region to come and work and enjoy what Chesapeake has to offer.
And how is the project being funded?
The state is really footing the majority of the bill. Over 80% of that is coming from the state, and then the member cities, including Chesapeake, are funding the balance. So we're real proud that the state of Virginia is very interested in how to improve public transportation in Hampton Roads, and quite frankly, it's long overdue. So we're really pleased, and we're hopeful to have some results later this year so we can talk about how can you restructure the system and be more productive.
So I guess it's ever changing. just as the needs of the cities change, so would transportation needs as well.
Absolutely, and we're talking about a dynamic system that you evaluate each year to make sure it's productive. We have some routes that, you know, end at 7
Right.
p.m., 8 p.m., and then, you know, folks want to have a, you know, catch another shift.
Right.
You know, I spoke at Newport News recently, and, you know, a worker came to me, one of the food service workers, and said, hey, I want to catch some second shifts. How come you don't run until, you know, 11, 12 o'clock at night? So I told her, look, you got to talk to your city council members. The cities make those decisions about how long routes run and what's funded. But we all have to work together for the productivity of the region.
And that's why it's important for people like that to probably take the survey so they can, their input can be counted.
Yes, and we would encourage all of your viewers to take the survey, even if you don't take public transportation, because one of the things that I'm so proud of is the fact that, you know, even if you don't use public transportation, chances are you rely on someone else, whether it's the barista at Starbucks that serves you, or folks that provide support to you in various ways. We all benefit from transit, and certainly keeping cars off the road. Certainly for those that want to drive, transportation, public transportation helps you as well.
So we're all connected.
All connected, yes. We're
now,
one community.
how can the community get involved?
Well, I think the survey is one of those. We're also going later this spring, and we're ready for the cold weather to leave.
Yes, me too.
But we intend to have a number of public meetings throughout the region. So we'll have some meetings in Chesapeake. I don't have those dates yet, but I'd love to be able to communicate that back.
That would be
so
great.
So that you can share those with your viewers. I think it's important that we all speak to what will make transportation better for Hampton Roads.
Absolutely, and we'll make sure we put up the information for the survey. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us today, Mr. Harrell.
And thank you very much.
Appreciate it so much. Thank you. Well, that does it for this edition of A Closer Look. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.